Hello, lovely. Welcome to my channel where every Monday I will drop a video. Sometimes it'll be earlier than this, I promise, unless I've had clients in the morning, which was the case today. So then I'll put it out later in the day. So today I wanted to do a talk about the spirituality poverty vow. How many of us as spiritual practitioners have had to work through this poverty vow, um, this almost guilt or shame that comes through. Either we're shamed from other people, when you're making maybe a post or an ad and you've had people shame you or make you feel guilty, and also you feeling guilty within yourself as well. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about today. So many of us have this, you know, um, we're looking at, when we're children, and depending on how you're raised or who your parents were and how you were brought up. Sorry, I just want to get my computer here so it doesn't look like it's just my head. Depending on what we were taught growing up, and typically the women that are around my age, like in their 50s, we had parents that always talked about money as being the root of all evil. Now, not every parent did, but I know that, for instance, with my parents, at least with my mom, it was kind of this comparison to, children on that side of the river. They have nannies, so they're not loved. Their parents are always gone and working, so they don't have this um, almost parental figure loving them. And so, it was implied that wealthy people, send their kids off, and so the kids are kind of ignored. Interesting talks that we hear. The radio is on a lot when we're in the car traveling, maybe with our folks, and just there's a societal perception as well, at least back in the day, where there's always, songs written about the more money you have, the more problems we see. There's so many of those. And I know I have another video out there on my YouTube channel with all different phrases of money and this teaching that, as we aged, that we heard growing up, but um, also, about how our parents would have spoke about at the dinner table, their finances or budgeting, or did you hear about, Uncle so and so or Auntie so and so. So, as children, we don't just learn about money, but we absorb the emotional frequency of money. Um, and so, really, if I would give you three reflections around, what we may hear around the emotion of money as a child, is one is the burden. If your parents are constantly stressed about bills, you learned that money's heavy, right? And as a spiritual woman, you now subconsciously avoid it to keep your energy light. And also, the next one is the villain, right? So here's, if you heard that rich people are greedy or unhappy, your inner child decided that poverty equals purity. Right. So it's almost like I would be put in that villain, money is a villain box. And then the other one you could look at is the good girl, right? If you were rewarded for being selfless and never asking for much, you've carried all that time your business undercharging because you're still trying to be the good girl. Um, And so the spiritual conflict around this, and for the niche of spiritual practitioners, what I find is that it's a double-edged. We're taught that spirit is free, but we live in a physical world that requires currency. And when we carry a childhood script that says money is spiritual, or you know that money is the root of all evil, you create a ceiling on how many people you can actually help, because you can't pour from an empty, stressed out cup. Um, so really considering that, and I know for myself, putting out there prices and that, you get a lot of judgment. I would get a lot of emails and how dare you, um, you're a fraud because you're charging for it. But it's a skill, it's a gift. Photographers have the gift to be able to see a particular angle or a particular picture, to take that picture. Like a stager for, realtors, when you're staging a house, you have to have a particular gift at being able to do that. Putting clothes together, color coordinating. I mean, all of those things are a gift, because I'll tell you, we don't all have those skills, right? We don't all have those gifts. And those people charge for them, and we wouldn't think twice to ask a photographer or a plumber to not charge anything because they have a skill or a gift of doing their job. So, but for spiritual practitioner, it's often thought that because it's a gift, we could say from creator, or whatever kind of languaging that you use to talk about it, I want to tell you that that's just not true. It's not true at all. So, because yes, it's a gift, but it's also our craft. It's also our skill that we hone, that we practice. Um, it just happens to be a different skill and mindset when it comes to that. So really looking at, and understanding that there is this vow of poverty around spiritual practitioners. And, you know, um, the one thing that I love doing, and which I'm also teaching, but I'm also doing a scan for people, is the energy scans that I do and that I teach, to be able to really look within the body and see where you're holding on to these vows, seeing, because it'll affect you in your energy center at a certain spot, um, and area. And because you've carried it for so long, you might also find that you have a physical symptom there. So whether it's, in your sacral chakra, your sacral energy center, and maybe, you may see this because your digestion is slow, maybe you've gained weight and you find it hard to lose this weight. That can be a physical symptom of energy stored in your sacral chakra, or, between the sacral and the root chakra. So this is what I love to do, is that when I'm meeting with a client, because typically it's spiritual practitioners that come to me, is that I do an energy scan with them at first, so that I'm able to see where they're holding on to those limitations. And there's a beautiful method that I call the Lotus method, which goes deeper into that. So the energy scan, is a wonderful process. It's being able to read someone's body to tell and feel exactly where you're holding on to that energy, but then